Welcome aboard the Pilot Money Guys podcast, where our mission is to help professional pilots build and protect wealth on their journey to financial freedom. This podcast is brought to you by Leading Edge Financial Planning.
All right, Kevin, welcome to the Pilot Money Guys. It's good to have you back again. We are excited about the show today. How are you doing today?
I'll tell you, I'm in first class today, Charlie. I'm feeling great. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
Good. You're feeling great because the weather's beautiful. You get to play golf this week.
So, actually, that's all true. That's all true.
It's been a beautiful fall, and it's been awesome. But I'm excited, Kevin, today about our discussion. We're going to cover some really nitty-gritty stuff, and we're going to try to shed some light on some things going on at different airlines and our questions from the cockpit. We're also going to shed some light on the most recent IRS implementation, if you will. It's been in the works for a long time. Your favorite phrase, Secure Act 2.0.
Yes. We should name the podcast that.
That's right. That'd be exciting. Basically, this happened, I don't know, was it 21? And so things are just now being implemented that are going to impact you as an airline pilot. And so we're going to talk about that today and what those implications might be and how if we need to do any action, how it might affect our taxes. So we're going to try to hit those things today. Could be kind of nitty gritty, but we think this stuff is exciing. Right.
Yeah, we're going to be in the weeds, Charlie, or I like to call it now the rough. We're going to be in the rough, the weeds. But I think, a lot of this stuff is super exciting to us. Unfortunately, there's a lot of nuance and that kind of stuff. So hopefully we'll get the stuff right. If we don't, please kindly point out where we might have misspoken.
That's right. Kindly. That's all. We're very sensitive. But on that note, we love the rating and the review. Share the podcast to other airline folks so we can reach more people with our content and just help more people, Kevin. So that's what we want to do. And this is challenging to put out these things without visuals. I'm a visual dude, man. I draw and put up graphics, and we're not always able to do that. So we'll tackle that today regardless and try to be as clear as we can. So, Kevin, let's jump right in. And we've got some questions that pretty much cover all the major airlines. Just happen to get some of these questions lately, especially since open enrollment's coming up. I think a lot of these things come up because of an open enrollment. So we've got a question from John about the Delta open enrollment life insurance, group variable universal life insurance. We've been talking about that a lot lately in our office, and it's pretty neat program, Kevin. So John's like, hey, should I have group variable universal life insurance for my personal life insurance at Delta, or should I have term? What do you think? What are the thoughts there?
Yeah, if it's the GVUL from Delta, the answer is yes, Charlie. Next question. No, I'm kidding. This is one of those times, Charlie, I truly think it's a no-brainer because you have the term life insurance that has a value. You have the GVUL, it has a certain value. And what ends up happening with the GVUL, you get the same exact amount of life insurance. However, the amount of imputed income on that amount of life insurance is less on your paycheck. So if you have less imputed income, that means you have less tax. Yeah. So the other thing with the GVUL is that you can take it with you. So it is portable. So the final part about it, Charlie, and then I'll turn it over to you for some other comments, is that we wouldn't invest in the GVUL. It might be the 17th or 18th place we might invest our money, but as far as the life insurance part, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great point, because a lot of times permanent life insurance policies are sold, and I'm using air quotes here, so that you can invest, so you can borrow from your, we don't really like it because of those reasons, although, like you said, 17th or 18th down the line, maybe that's a good idea. But Delta's is pretty unique in that what you just nailed, in that there's a difference in imputed income, which reduces your taxes, which essentially reduces the cost of ownership, I think is maybe a good way to summarize that.
Beautiful.
All right. Other airlines have the GVUL, but it's not exactly the same for the Delta folks, because they have an option to make it, during open enrollment, select that as a primary versus a term. So that's not like that at every other airline. Southwest has GVUL, but it's kind of outside the norm of the insurance benefits. United has the GVUL, but I like it for the reason you said. Sometimes people want to take that insurance with them. They can. If they want to, but again, a Delta, it's a little different. That's why we bring that one up. But
and if you're working with the union, please get Deltas. It's really great. That's one time you can be really jealous of the Delta plan because the GVUL at Delta is special.
Absolutely. All right. Very cool. So and moving on to the United question for us. Justin from United says, how much should I allow spill cash, my 401k spill cash, to go into my, I got to get these acronyms right, HRA, health reimbursement account, and then subsequently RHA, retirement health account. I think I got those acronyms right. But because there's going to be some spill going on there right now as it's set up at United, they get spill cash into those programs. So Justin's like, how much should I allow to go in there? Because they have a little bit of control, not a lot, but a little bit. Any thoughts on that, Kevin?
I think the key thing, Charlie, for the RHA in my mind is that, yes, it's a use it or lose it for you and or your spouse. And, but the thing is that we know healthcare is absolutely going to be a huge expense in the future. And having some money in the RHA, $100,000, $200,000, if you end up dying early, then that cost of healthcare is gone. So we know it's not perfect, but yeah, we would let some money spill into the RHA. Once you get into the $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 range, then yeah, absolutely talk to someone, go through the numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal, benefit as far as building up something just for healthcare, because like you kind of alluded to, I think the statistics say that we're going to spend a few $100,000 in healthcare costs in retirement. So being able to save that much in your HRAs or HA is beneficial. I think you can get $24,200 in there if you make about 410 grand at United. That's about how much is going to go into your RHA, all else being equal. We can add a little bit to that if we need to, but 10 to 12 to 15 years of that, you're going to be looking at, if my math is correct, 250 to 300,000. So if you're getting to that point with those account balances, then maybe there'll be some other options out there for you soon, especially when they open up the door to the market-based cash balance plan at United.
Yeah, Charlie, we're going to talk more about this, but really that's the whole key, is to get locked and loaded before January 1st with what you want to do, because the 401k pretty much controls everything now. The more you put in, the money starts spilling all kinds of places. I mean, I love spill cash.
That's
Who doesn't
right.
love spill cash? But anyway, and Andy's done a couple of videos on the RHA, HRA on our YouTube channel. So if you want a deep dive, that's where to go.
That's exactly. Go to Leading Edge Financial Planning YouTube channel. And we just made one as well, just trying to draw out when exactly does money spill into your HRA from the 415 excess, Kevin, and then when does it spill into your HRA from the 401a-17? Those are the ones we cannot go into detail in the podcast because it requires a little bit of visual and about another 15 minutes to describe exactly how and when that happens. But hopefully we did a good job on that video. Check it out. And if you want to know more, give us a call too, or email as well. All right. So that's the United PRAP health reimbursement account and then RHA as well. So moving on to, let's say we had one from Mark at American. He says, hey, should I use the ability to have in-plan Roth conversions in my 401k? Should I do that? When should I do in-plan? Because if you have a 401k, and multiple airlines have this, I know Southwest has it as well, but at American specifically, you can take money in your 401k, that's pre-tax money, and within your 401k, you can convert that, i.e. pay tax on it, and then convert it to Roth. You can do that all inside of your 401k. But what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's really super interesting to me, Charlie, because the more money you make, the less likely you want to do it. And the less money you have, the less money you have to do it and pay the tax. Right. But what my recommendation is if you're listening to this, to think a little bit about how much do you want to get into the Roth each year, and just to see how much you'll have Roth at retirement if you run some numbers. I mean, that's really the bogey, is to say, how much do I want in the Roth next year, and how do I make that happen? So the answer is, it's complicated, Charlie. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there are two scenarios where we kind of alarm bells go off. One of those is if let's say you're on disability and maybe you're getting tax-free income. We immediately start thinking Roth conversion, because your income has just dropped significantly if you're out for a little while, and you might be receiving the majority of your income could be tax-free. So that's one scenario where we're going to start looking at that. The other scenario, I think, Kevin, is when we get people that transfer from the military. They've got a pension possibly, so they have some money. You're still probably taking a little bit of a pay cut your first year. but you're not broke. You got some money. And you can go, okay, hey, I can take take advantage of this moment where my income has been lowered. I'm not completely broke, so I can put all money Roth in the 401k potentially,
Yeah.
for those first couple of years. But then, like you said, as your income goes up, the tax bite will start to hurt a little bit more, and you're going to want to pull that back a little bit. But those are two scenarios that I think of that we kind of see every once in a while and look for. Can be really advantageous.
Perfect, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
We'll talk about too the new IRS rule change, of being able to have your airline NEC be Roth. That's going to happen next year, possibly. All right. Final question from our Southwest pilot, Gary. He says, when should I consider the Southwest Airlines non-qualified retirement plans? And there's 3 of them at Southwest, Kevin. There's the top hat, i.e., that's just deferred compensation. Then there's the excess benefit plan, which is essentially the 415 spill cash benefit plan. And then there's the 401A-17 retirement plan at Southwest. Those are non-qualified. And those numbers may sound familiar because they trigger spill cash, even in the United plan that we talked about. See how all this stuff relates, right? But at Southwest, I think they're the only airline that I know of that has these non-qualified plans.
Coming soon at Delta, we hear.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it'll be another thing to choose from, which is great. Now, the non-qualified plans, the biggest part of that non-qualified term means they don't come under the same restrictions or the same protections as the ERISA law passed in 1974. It's more than anybody wants to know. But basically, they are an asset of the company. Basically, not exactly, but they go into a trust. The company's not going to. Yeah, the company's not going to snatch them up in bankruptcy, but they are going to be vulnerable to the creditors, which means you may not get your money as a pilot if your airline at Southwest, in this case, goes into bankruptcy proceedings. So that's the big scare, right? In March 2020, some of our folks with non-qualified money said, hey, let's take that money out. And I said, I wish we could, but you can't. It is in there. It will stay in there. And it comes out at a programmed schedule. So, Kevin, those are the big downers. But what about when would somebody benefit from the non-qualifieds? What do you think?
Yeah, and I'll answer that question, Charlie, but I want to use the word irrevocable at least once here, because that is the truth about these plans. We've had people put money in the plans, and then the next year they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you're locked and loaded. Whatever decision you made is done. Now, the real question you asked was when to use it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, first of all, I would just say if you have a big income coming up in a year, you can lower your income using the non-qualified plans. That's the whole reason they have those. And an example that a Delta pilot, a handsome, good-looking Delta pilot told us, Charlie, is that what if you're going to get a huge IRA from your parents? If a parent dies and leaves you an IRA, you got to take it out over the next 10 years. Then you also have your flying income, and then all of a sudden, whammo, you're in really high tax brackets. Every one of your dollars being taxed at 37 plus state income tax. So that's an area that I think is super interesting for the non-qualified. Also, if you do in the last couple of years of flying, once you're over 60, the risk of bankruptcy is less, Charlie. So those are my 2 thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, exactly that. Especially the age is kind of in the mid to late 50s. If you're a Southwest pilot, a little bit young, especially in the mid 50s, a little bit young to be doing that because you've got more time, where your money is vulnerable. But 60 and on, maybe the sweet spot where it can be a great tax planning tool to defer that taxes and spread that taxes out to those years when you're 65 to 70, when you're probably going to be in a lower tax bracket. So that can be a great tool to just, quite frankly, pay less tax. It's less about the investing per se, but really a tax planning strategy that can be really valuable just on the tax arbitrage. I love to use that word when I get a chance. So
yeah, last point, Charlie, is just don't go online and just do it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because there's risk involved.
Absolutely. Last question from Katie. She says, I've got a significant amount in my brokerage account or maybe a high yield account. I think that'd be more accurate. Say high yield or something. I'm getting 4% interest still, which hopefully that sticks around, but nonetheless, interest rates seem to be coming down a little bit. So I'm paying a lot of taxes on my interest. I pay ordinary income taxes and I pay state taxes and I pay the net investment income tax, right?
Nice.
Nice. So what the heck? Are there options for this? My interest is getting eaten away. 50% of it's going to the government, the interest that I'm making.
Yeah, well, Katie, thanks for the question, and it's a good problem to have a bunch of money in a bank account or brokerage account. That money's all yours for the most part. However, the income that you're making from the bank interest or from bonds is not only going to be taxed at your highest tax bracket, Charlie, which is 37, but also, like you said, the net investment income tax, another 3.8. So now you're over 40, and then the state tax on top of that. So this is one of those times in investment management where it's painful because we take all the risk, but we share a lot of the money with the government. Really, I think all we wanted to say, Katie, is that there are some products out there. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I'm not going to say they're as safe as using bank interest, but there are some ways to at least lessen some of that high tax risk that you have for sure by using some other products. Muni bonds has been the real easy one for years, except muni bonds had high returns, even with the tax free. Now it's gotten a little bit better there, but there's some other products that we can't go into here because it'll sound like we're making a recommendation, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some tools out there. So we can just, again, shoot us an email or something, and we can provide more details depending on your situation. So Kevin, let's get into the meat of the mission today, because what we wanted to cover are these IRS, I don't want to say rule changes, but really the implementation of these rules from the Secure Act 2.0. So really there's three of them that we'll talk to today. One of them is already been in effect at some of the airlines, where if you turn 60 in 2025, or you're 61, 62, 63, boy, that's confusing to say. I hope I didn't confuse people when I said that. But anyway, if you're one of those ages, you have what's called this super catch-up contribution up, and it's 11,250 instead of 7,500. So in other words, you can get 81,250 in your 401k this year in 2025. A lot of you are already doing that. A lot of you have already done that. I don't know that that's available at every single airline yet, but it will be. And so that's kind of nice. But how does this impact you, our pilots? What action do you need to take? And what are the pros and cons? Kevin, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beautiful thing is this is the first year that it's been like that. And, now you can go into your 401k. We're at the end of September and check out how much money you put into your 401k. The catch up is something that you can do. And then the super catch up. You get very little when you get older, Charlie. You get a few discounts, and now you get a little more money in the 401k. So take advantage of it. But that's really, I think, what the action step is, to go in and just check how much money you've put in and if your catch-up is complete. Now, most of the airlines, you can see that pretty readily, Charlie. I think Southwest is a little bit different, and there's going to be a change next year. But how do you see if you've made the catch-up at a place like Southwest?
Yeah, you have to look at how much has gone in there. Your percentage, and you can't predict a percentage for every pilot. The incomes are different, whatever, they're working different hours. But if you're a captain at the highest pay rate, for example, then you need to have a contribution rate of about 9% plus to fill this super catch-up bucket. And so you can just you have to go online and look, hey, do I have the right contribution? And that depends on how many TFP you've flown. And so you got to check that. And it's not too late to go in there and increase that to get that catch up, max that bucket out, because the airline, your employer, cannot fill the airline cannot do that for you.
Wait, Charlie, you have to do it yourself?
You do, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So the airline, if you did nothing, the airline would put in about, and I think this applies to almost all of them right now because IRS limits are the same. The NEC from the major airlines is about the same. But this year, 2025, if you did zero, Kevin, as a pilot, you'd get about $59,000 in your 401k, which is nothing to scoff at.
Nope.
But it's not 77.5 or 81,250. You got to go in and finish and top that off. So that's important for our pilots to know that and understand that.
Cool.
All right. So that one.
Yay for the older people.
That's right. Yay, old people.
I'm one of them. You're my people. I love you.
Excellent. And the government, quite frankly, just wants you to save more. That's really about it. Kevin, the next two are not implemented yet. So they're brand new, hot off the press. And I think the implementation is going to be different at each airline. For example, Southwest has already thrown down the SWAPA has voted, the board of directors voted to add this to the 401k. in January 1, 2026. The other airlines may be different. Pay attention to that. But the second IRS implementation change that we're going to cover today is that if you are 50 or older and you make more than 145 in income, which most of our pilots do pretty early on, then your catch-up contribution must be Roth. Bam, I just dropped the bomb on.
Yeah. And, this is one of those things where you're kind of like, well, this could be a good thing.
Yeah.
But Charlie, before we jump into the good thing, I mean, we just had another IRS notice come out, letter that came out September 15th, and it said if a business does not start up the 401k and force Roth this year, or in 2026 rather, that's okay. So, but we still think the law has stated that it's after January 1st, 2026. So anyway, you must put the money in Roth. And I think a lot of plans are scrambling now to make sure that people can and must put the money in Roth. And the difficulty is they have to know that you're going to make more than 145, or you have to know, Charlie. So there's a little bit of challenge there.
Yeah.
What do you know, Charlie?
Man, I think it's going to be interesting. And let me get to that why in a second. But firstly, the mechanics of this. And a lot of airlines that have Fidelity as their custodian in the 401k, right now, you have to go onto Fidelity and you have to select, this is my contribution rate, and this is how much I'm going to put for catch-up. So they're two separate selections, which makes it a little bit easier to see that and delineate that. Now at Southwest, they don't have that yet at Schwab, and I'm not sure about United
I think
either.
United does, I think.
Yeah. But at Southwest next year, you're going to be able, our understanding is you're going to have to be able to delineate these contributions are catch-up, these are not. And as you can imagine, if you didn't delineate that, then there's really no way of knowing because of the Irish limits. I'm not going to get into that, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, the hard part is it's hard to know if you were getting a tax deduction in the first place by contributing to your catch-up, because it just depends on how much you're making and how much spill cash is coming back to you. So most likely, the high income earners, Kevin, we're not getting a tax deduction anyway on their catch-up contributions. Is that a safe statement to say, you think?
Yeah, I don't know, Charlie. All I know is, especially with Southwest, if you put in too much money, it just all spills right back to you. Hopefully the market-based cash balance plan will catch it.
Exactly.
But so I think that's true.
Yeah.
In this case, there's some, to quote Andy Christopher, there's a lot of goodness here in the fact that now you can put money into the Roth part. You pay your tax just like you would if it spilled. But now you have the money in the Roth 401k going forward, which can be really powerful year after year.
Yeah, overall, it's a great thing. We really like this, even though the government's taking more of your money, so to speak. It actually can be good for us because Roth is so valuable. But nonetheless, it is going to vary at different airlines. Like, for example, Delta, their spill cash goes into the market-based cash balance plan, all of it, which is incredible. And it's going to depend on when
if you chose it.
If you chose that plan.
Yep.
And at American, it just depends on and United, what does their market-based cash balance plan look like? Does it have a spill feature? We don't even know that yet. Southwest is going to, but we don't know when that's going to be implemented. So it's very foggy right now. We'll add more to this maybe strategy as we learn more, but just understand that you will have the option to designate what's catch-up, what's not. We recommend doing catch-up because, again, the airline cannot do that for you. And if you're 50 or older, in 99.9% of the scenarios of the airlines, you're going to be making more than 145, thankfully. And you will be contributing Roth to your catch-up. So that's what that looks like. Hopefully that's helpful. I hate that we can't do more information, more strategy right now, but we will be able to in the near future for sure.
Yeah, Charlie, I don't think anyone's still listening, to be honest. We've gone through so much detail. So
what? This is exciting.
Continue.
This is exciting, man. But anyway, so if you got some specific situations, reach out to us. We'll go through with you and see how this might impact you and what you need to do to take advantage. All right, Kevin. So that's number 2. So number 1 so far, the super catch up, if you're 60, 61, 62, 63, if you're an old fart. Number 2, the mandatory Roth.
Older.
Yeah, mandatory Roth catch up contributions. And number 3 is that 2026, you are supposed to have the opportunity to tell your employer, your airline, to make their contributions Roth. In other words, you'll have a selection to go, my NEC from my airline will be Roth. Obviously, that means you, the airline pilot, are going to pay tax on that. Then it's going to go in your 401k. So that's interesting.
Alarm just went off.
All right,
I don't know if they have to. Do they have to,
No, they
Charlie?
don't have to. You'll have
Okay.
you'll be,
So
I'm sorry
don't
about
call
this.
them and say, hey, it must be
Yeah.
Roth. I think most of them will. And I think at most of the airlines anyway, you can do in-service conversions anyway. So, but continue, Charlie. Sorry. I heard a
Thanks.
phrase that hooked me.
Thanks for clarifying, because no, it is an option for sure. And as you mentioned, it kind of is already an option. We've already talked about in one scenario earlier today that most airlines make in-service Roth conversions, although that's administratively more challenging than this would be, because you're going to evidently going to flip a switch, and if you want to make the company's NEC Roth, and you're going to pay tax on all the NEC coming your way, which could be kind of painful.
Yeah, I mean, there really is more to follow with this. Like we saw that, at least for one airline, the money is going to come to Schwab, and then it's going to be changed into Roth money. The 1099 is going to be sent. So we hope that it's going to show up on the pay stub, Charlie, but we don't know right now.
Yeah.
So we hope that you're not going to have put $40,000 into Roth during the year and then get to tax season and our tax team has to call you and says, "I'm sorry, you owe $15,000 in tax."
Yeah,
So,
that would be a nasty tax surprise that nobody likes. So really, what you're saying, Kevin, is we get to talk more about imputed income and taxes on imputed income, which is our favorite thing to do.
I love it. Let's talk all day.
The most confusing thing ever. But anyway, so those are the three major things we wanted to brief everybody on. There's a lot yet to be known. There's some strategies that may come out of this, and we're happy to help, and we'll put out more information as we get it. Kevin, that was a nitty gritty.
Yeah, I just had one thing to say, Charlie. There's all these different ways to get money into Roth now in the 401k. You can also do Roth in the IRA. You can do both of those. If you make too much money, you have to go the backdoor route. But really, I think, again, the key, the easy button is just to figure out how much money you want to get into Roth during the next 12 months once we get to January, and make your plan that way. I mean, there's all these different ways and levers and maneuvers. And yeah, you want to make sure you get all that right, or you'll maybe pay a little more tax now. But just figure out how much money you want to get into the Roth and then work the problem that way, I think.
That's great, dude. That is a perfect thing to say. I just got to ask twice in the last week. Hey, in a perfect world, what's the ratio of pre-tax money to Roth money that someone should show up, to retirement with? I'm like, man, I've never thought about it that way. That's a great, 100%. I want 100% Roth, but sometimes the cost is too high to get Roth. If you're in a 37%, 32, whatever marginal tax bracket, that's a pretty high cost to get Roth in your 401k, especially. That's where the backdoor Roth comes into play. But Kevin, just to pile on what you said before we close out, really the name of the game here is to show up at a retirement with a big bucket of tax-free money via Roth. Hopefully you got it when you're young in a lower tax bracket, or via backdoor Roth when the tax implications are a little lower, hopefully. And then you're going to have some pre-tax income, because everybody does. That's just the majority of our savings usually. And we also love when they show up with a large taxable brokerage account to retirement's, front door, because then you get this tax diversification effect where you at least have some flexibility going into retirement on how and when you take, different types of taxable monies.
Yeah, and if there's not grumble going on about the market-based cash balance plan, Charlie, that does change the dynamic if you're putting money into that, because that money's deferred as well. Yeah. So again, that's where we come back to the circular argument of putting money into the Roth 401k.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And sometimes be good.
Lots of amazing opportunities at all the airlines right now with the new contracts, but it does take a little bit of intentionality and some thought and some planning. We're happy to help. Give us a call or email Kevin at leadingedgeplanning.com, Charlie, Charlie at leadingedgeplanning.com. Call our office. It's 865-240-2292. And I think Kevin's, you're number one, maybe. I don't know. You're number one on the selection board.
I am number one, so I get all of the spam calls. So anyway.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks again for sharing this podcast, rating and reviewing. We appreciate it. And again, just pass it on to someone you think this could benefit. and reach out to us. We'd love to hear your feedback as well. Thanks, and God bless.
Yeah. Thank you, pilots. Thank you, spouses.
Hello, Pilot Podcast family. Charlie here. I just wanted to share with you something we've just recently developed. In the show notes, you're going to see the Pilot Wealth Index. We want you to check it out. Give it a shot. It's a quiz, a short questionnaire that allows you to understand, are you on track? We have a lot of people that say, hey, we just want to know if we're on track. Are we where we should be at this stage of our flying career, airline career, whatever it might be? How am I doing? Am I close to my peer group? Am I behind? Am I ahead? We've developed some questions, some metrics that we think if you go through this and check it out, answer the questions, you will have a very good idea of where you stand. We developed the questions that give an indication of, are you doing the right things you need to do to be prepared for an eventual retirement, and that one that can be profitable for you. So check it out in the show notes, the Leading Edge Pilot Wealth Index. We hope you give it a shot. If you have any questions at all, reach out. Happy to help. Charlie at leadingedgeplanning.com. Again, that's Charlie at leadingedgeplanning.com. You can call or text me on my cell, 865-328-4969. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Pilot Money Guys podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen. We are grateful for your reviews because they encourage others to listen in. Visit leadingedgeplanning.com to learn more and subscribe to our newsletter. Leading Edge Financial Planning, LLC, LEFP, is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where LEFP and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. For additional information, please visit our website at www.leadingedgeplanning.com. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, and it should not be relied on as such. It should not be considered a solicitation to buy or an offer to sell a security. It does not take into account any investor's particular investment objectives, strategies, tax status, or investment horizon. You should consult your attorney or tax advisor. The views expressed in this commentary are subject to change based on market and other conditions. These documents may contain certain statements that may be deemed forward-looking statements. Please note that any such statements are not guarantees of any future performance, and actual results or developments may differ materially from those projected. Any projections, market outlooks, or estimates are based upon certain assumptions and should not be construed as indicative of actual events that will occur. All information has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but its accuracy is not guaranteed. There is no representation or warranty as to the current accuracy, reliability, or completeness of, nor liability for, decisions based on such information, and it should not be relied on as such.